So we've decided that we want to try martial arts. We want to start learning, we want to start training, start growing, but now we have to choose where. How do we choose a school? How do I know which school is right for me? Well, I propose that we keep two questions sort of in the background. One would be what makes a school good in itself, and then what makes a school a good fit for me. I think one of the concepts that's kind of going around nowadays, and it has its place, I guess it's important, but is this idea that, oh, this person isn't a good fit for our school. And that can be true to an extent. They might have a different mindset than we want to have in our school. Maybe somebody is really, really sport-oriented and we're more holistic. Or somebody wants to learn karate in order to beat somebody else up, and we don't do that. So in that kind of way, then that person's not a good fit for the school. Okay, but usually the question is rather, is this community a good fit for me, for my family, for my kids, for my friends, for our group that wants to train together? And so in discerning which school to join, what studio, what club, we want to have those two questions in the background. What makes the school good in and of itself, and what makes it fit for my situation, for my needs, for my family's needs? So I propose 4 main elements to consider. First would be the instructors, all those involved in teaching. Second would be the students of that school. Third would be the programs in question, the value of a particular membership or of the school. And fourth would be the general culture of the community in that school. All right, so we'll look at all 4 of these in some detail. For instructors, we want to look at their personal skill when they're executing different motions, their proficiency in teaching, their character, how they are, and the relationships they have with the students and with other instructors. So first, their own personal skill. Are they good at what they do? Are they fit? Do they look healthy? Do they seem like a well-rounded individual? Martial arts is typically sold as a way to build the whole person, right? And so you have the instructors, the masters, they should probably be showing the fruits of that, right? They should be pretty well-rounded. They should be pretty all-around healthy. And so if you see an instructor that maybe is not in the best shape, they might still be a great teacher, but it's something to consider, right? Because if the teachers, the instructors, are sloppy in their own technique, I imagine it would be very difficult to be precise and to be accurate with their students in their instruction. So second would be their proficiency in teaching, right? So you can have somebody who's a very good practitioner, a very good student, a very good performer, I suppose, of one who's doing the motions very well, but that does not automatically carry over into helping others develop those skills or learn the concepts, right? So just because you have somebody who's a great martial artist does not necessarily automatically mean they're a great instructor. They're different. They're distinct. They're related, of course, but they're distinct. I think to be an excellent teacher, they should be an excellent practitioner. You have to be a really great student first to then be able to teach, right? And so then instructing, teaching, it involves different components. So how do they explain things? Are they good with their level of detail? Do they get into the specifics as appropriate for the class at the time? So if they're teaching 5-year-olds, do they engage them in an appropriate way? Whereas they're teaching teenagers or adults, do they give maybe that extra level of depth? Are they able to answer questions? Are they able to articulate themselves and their thoughts clearly, thoroughly, not leaving any gaps in the concepts or in the skills? And when questions come up, do they receive them? Are they able to receive questions, or do they reject them? That's a bad sign. If people don't want to be questioned, if people don't want to answer questions, so can they answer questions, and do they give good answers? Are they able to really engage their audience, their class, including the parents, including other people watching their class? Do they allow an audience? Do they allow parents to watch their kids or siblings to watch their family? Some places don't want other people watching. That's kind of a red flag too. Why don't you want me to see what my kids are doing in there? Why don't you want me to see what you're teaching them? And third, for the instructors, we look at their character. How are they as a person? Their personality. And I don't mean they have to be introverted or extroverted. I just mean, are they respectful, right? Martial arts are supposed to instill respect along with other things. But if they're jerks, if they're very impatient with their students, if they're verbally abusive, I mean, there's something to be said for discipline, and I lean a bit more traditional, especially in the martial arts But I mean, there's that and there's bullying. So there's traditional, good, solid, tough love, and then there's bullying, and then there's being a jerk, right? So is there patience? Is there genuine concern for their students to really learn this stuff? Because if we're preaching to teach self-defense, we should really care that, one, that the motion is a good motion, that it'll work, it'll be effective, again, in itself, and then also that the students are picking up what they need to pick up, they're learning it properly, that they'll be able to defend themselves, God forbid, if they need to. Do they smile? Are they friendly? Do they create a warm environment? Are they welcoming? Or do they give an air of being super exclusive, being too important? Especially the head instructor, the owner, and all the instructors. And you also want to look at how they interact with each other. That's our fourth point, is the rapport among the instructors. How do they treat one another? How do they speak to each other? How does the head instructor talk to his other instructors? How do they talk to each other? How do they talk about each other behind their backs? Is there a good rapport? Is there a good morale? Is there a good community of instructors? Because if that's not healthy, it's going to be very difficult to foster a healthy student body. The second element to consider would be the students themselves. So again, we're looking at their personal skill. Maybe not the white belts, but we also want to see maybe the next rank up. Usually it's yellow or orange, depending on the style. How are they? Is there a noticeable improvement in just that short amount of time? And you look at their intermediate levels, you look at especially their advanced levels. And again, instructors are also students, right? A teacher is always a student, a good teacher anyway. So you look at their skill. Are those who are supposed to be advanced students, advanced practitioners now, having gone through a program for a couple of years, is it noticeable? Do they outperform the beginners while still being respectful, right? So that comes back into their character, right? These are some of the benefits of martial arts, but if they're not on display, if they're not evident in the students of the school in question, well, we might want to look elsewhere where those fruits are visible. And again, we want to look at the character of the students. If a particular school attracts a bunch of bullies, or creates bullies, just because of the way they interact with the other students and the instructors, well, that's not good. We don't want that. We don't want a school that instills vice. We don't want a school that makes it easy to pick on each other. We don't want the higher ranks making fun of the lower ranks. We don't want any of that. We want a community of students who help each other. They can answer questions for each other, they're there for each other, they support each other, help keep each other accountable, and are friendly with one another. That's what we want. So we want on a communal level and also in the individual level. So we're talking about the students individually, their character, right? Are they good people? Or are they being molded in that direction by the instructors? And then again, we look at the relationships among the students and with their instructors, with their teachers, and with their parents. You can look at the family dynamics. A lot of times you get some difficulties at home. It's common. But is that improving, or do we see a student, a star student on the floor, on the training floor, and then they come out and they yell at their parents over nothing, or even over something, but do they have disrespect for their parents? I mean, if that's what they're learning, no, go somewhere else. Do the kids play with each other? Do they talk? Do they have fun? Are they friendly? Are they friends? Is it a healthy community among the students and with their instructors? Is it a place that you want your kids to be? Is it a place you want to be? So the third main element would be the value of that school. What can that school offer you in terms of the program you're looking at, their facilities, their equipment, and also their curricular structure? So different kind of things. That might be a little bit hard to assess from the outside, but we'll mention a couple of things to look for. So we can look at just the cost of the program per family member. Sometimes programs can be very expensive. It's cost prohibitive, and that's the barrier to entry. It's just too expensive. And some places will be very helpful and offer discounts for additional family members. That's very helpful, especially for larger families. It's really, really great to be able to do different activities together as a family. Right? Families that train together tend to stay together. They have a sort of bond that's different. It's more. It helps them be very healthy families. Right, so I think a typical school membership, usually it's monthly fees to be a member of a school. And you can pay annually or quarterly and get certain discounts for those, or pay for up to a certain rank or whatever. A decent average, I suppose, would be about $150 a month here in the US. Of course, that varies by town, varies by city, varies by state. But most schools out there will fall between 100 and 200 per member per month. And then there's variety for additional students in the family, with the really good schools incentivizing families to train together. So then we can look at the benefits of the program in question. So for the cost, what do you get? How many times a week are you allowed to train? How many times a month? Do you get is there a limit to the number of times you can go? Do you have access to other facilities? Maybe they have a gym within their school, or maybe they offer the testing fees to be included, the uniform and belt to be included, at least for testing. I mean, kids grow fast, and so you have to replace the uniforms because they just grow out of them. That happens. How many of these extra hidden fees are there? Oh, we're going to tack on an extra fee for this or an extra fee for that. Oh, we didn't see this. We're going to have a membership fee for the federation, and then we're going to have... That adds up. And if they're not upfront about those things, it can be very difficult, again, especially for bigger families. As you look at their facilities, is it clean? Do they have lots of equipment? Do they have lots of bags, lots of pads? I mean, sharing is good, but if there's a shortage of equipment, that could be a drawback. Do they offer other resources? Some schools that offer homework assignments. Not to overload their students. I mean, kids have a lot of homework these days. But things to reinforce some of the conceptual, some of the character development lessons from class, those will be really good. Things to kind of chew on throughout the week so that when they go back, those lessons are a bit more deeply ingrained. Those are good things. What kind of other extras does the program offer? Are there online resources? Maybe there are videos, such as I hope to provide here, that will help to aid practice. They can't really replace the entirety of in-person training, but they can help a lot. And they can help to aid the practice at home to reinforce what is learned in class. Are there tournaments? Are they affiliated with an organization that's, again, another bigger, larger, good community to be a part of? So, and then the last point for the value of the program in question would be the curricular structure. And this can be hard to analyze. It can be hard to see especially if you're a new student without a whole lot of experience with different martial arts curricular structures and what this entails. But you want to look for signs of a McDojo, right? So signs of a school that's really just trying to take your money. Do they have tons of belts? Dozens of belts. Now, some organizations have this because of their incentive value, especially for kids. But the difference between a McDojo and using the real psychology of that, and also is for tracking, it's helpful for the instructors to track students. Or if there are 3 ranks, it can be hard to just look at a student and know where they are. So if they have an appropriate degree of ranking, then you can tell about what level somebody is just from looking at their belt, right? Just from looking at their uniform. But if they have this color this and this color that, and they have to change their uniform top to be this color because of this and then because of whatever, then, and they charge you for it, that's the thing. The difference is if they have all that, but then they don't charge you exorbitant fees for every testing, every belt, every stripe, everything. That gets to be a lot, right? So if it's for tracking and if it's for incentives, to an extent, that's fine. That's good. But there gets to be a point that it's too much, right? Where it's just trying to take your money. And so you want to look at if they have a whole ton of belts. I've seen schools that do it, but they're good with it, and they're genuine with it, and they're not just trying to take all of your money. Right, but beyond that, you want to look at also the curriculum itself. Is there a logical progression, right? Is there proper scaffolding, a concept from education? For a student's experience in learning something, a new thing, in learning new material, you want that happy zone of not too hard, not too easy, right? Because if it's too easy, students get bored. If it's too hard, they get discouraged very easily. And so you want to try to find that balance for individual students, but also for the typical student at this point, right? For this age group, for this rank. And so you want the curriculum to really make sense. That it should build on itself at each stage in a way that makes a lot of sense. I spent a lot of time revising the curricula that I use in order to make a whole lot of sense internally. So within itself, it's structured in a way that makes sense, that builds on itself in intelligent ways, I hope. But also that reflect the needs of kids at various ages, teens are still kids, sorry, and adults of varying ages. And so these factors should be evident in the curricular structure if you know what you're looking for. Again, that can be hard to assess, but it's there. And the fourth and final point, last but not least, the overall general culture of the school. Are you a customer or are you a student? Is it a studio? A club? It's fine. Or is it a school? A bunch of dollar signs? Or a family, a community? Right? I've been blessed because the martial arts schools that I've been a part of have been really communities of growth. They've been real families to me. So I have one older sister, I have no younger siblings. But as an instructor, I taught and assisted classes as a teen and growing up. I started when I was 8. That's when I started karate, and within a couple of years I was allowed to start helping out with some of the lower belt classes. And so I became sort of a big brother of the school. And that was awesome. That was wonderful. It was a family environment, and I hope I contributed to that. I hope I am able to touch the lives of these students and these families in a positive way, to offer consolation, to offer encouragement, to help build the confidence where it's lacking. So many families, so many parents turn to martial arts, including, by the way, my parents, for me when I was younger, because their kids have a lower self-esteem or lower confidence. Maybe they're being bullied. And so you have these vulnerable students who come to us as instructors in need of some help, in need of some assistance, some support. And so this is why the character and the teaching style, the pedagogy, and also just the whole culture of the school is very important. Because if you have a fragile child because they're getting even just verbal abuse from their classmates for whatever reason, they don't need some other stranger, some middle-aged fat guy yelling at them because they can't do something perfectly on the first day. They don't need that, right? Now, I'm not going to be the one to hand out participation medals for everything. I think that's nonsense. But there's something to be said, again, about scaffolding and proper support. And so if the school feels like a family, and you can kind of tell sort of when they're faking just because you're new and you're considering joining, that they're being really nice to you. Not that. If you see that the community is like a family, you see people who are there for a long time. Lots of families training tend to gravitate toward communities that feel themselves like a big family. If you have students who have been there a long time, who have given up other things in life, maybe they had other options or they've done other sports and then they've dropped those or put those aside or didn't spend as much time with them because this was better, because of the community. That's awesome. That's what you want. So you want the culture of the school to be a place where you really want your kids to grow up in, right? Because this could be a place that you have in your life for years, hopefully. So you really want to make sure that it's a positive place, a positive community that builds each other up. It doesn't hand out participation medals, right? So if you have 5-year-old black belts, run away. That's nonsense. No. 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 So they have high standards, but they're good people. They care. And they're good at what they do. Both good at the techniques as students, as practitioners, and good at teaching. Good at helping, coaching, encouraging others along the way. So what makes a good martial arts school? Taking into account all of those factors, all of those elements, along with my own needs. It's a community that fosters and nurtures growth. There'll be another video on the word authority and what it means, or its etymology. I love etymologies. I've studied several languages and I love etymologies. I love languages in general. But authority, it's derived from the word to make grow. It's about growth. So authority is very much linked to the capacity to stimulate, foster, and nurture growth. A school is a place of growth. A martial arts school needs to be a community that is perfect for growth. If you can find one of those, go there, stay there, hang on to that community because they're kind of hard to find. Put out in the comments any other things that you'd like to see in martial arts schools, things that you don't want, things that you don't like to see, maybe some not so good experiences you've had, unfortunately, and some good ones. Right? We want to build up the community here and learn from each other. And also, of course, as always, let me know if you have any questions or any other thoughts, any other reactions. If you could remember to give this video a like, that would be very helpful for me. I hope to see you very soon in another video. Until then, fruitful training and have a good life.